Well, folks, if you haven't heard yet, we're just days away from the Senate Judiciary Committee convening hearings on Ketanji Brown Jackson's nomination to replace Stephen Breyer on the United States Supreme Court. And folks, for gun owners here in Missouri, having Josh Hawley on this committee means that your actions, our voice is needed right now more than ever before. Aaron Dorr here, guys, with the Missouri Firearms Coalition. Everyone knows that our rights these days are under attack nonstop from tyrants at the local, state, county, federal level, the White House, the State House, and everywhere in between. And more, what we're seeing is judges that are making or breaking the limits of the tyranny that these tyrants are trying to impose upon us. Joe Biden knows this, and his goal is to put the most left-leaning judicial activist he possibly can on the Supreme Court to shift the balance of power for decades to come. This is a photograph here of Ketanji Brown Jackson. And again, Ketanji has spent her entire adult life, before she was on the bench and after she's on the bench, or while she's on the bench, as a left-leaning judicial activist. These people want to reshape our country, aka destroy our freedoms, one ruling at a time. Earlier in her career, Ketanji worked on the Biden election campaign back in 2008. She spent years that followed that doing guest lectures for the American Constitution Society. Don't let the name fool you. There is perhaps no more left-leaning, freedom-hating think tank in all of D.C. than the American Constitution Society, and they loved her, because Ketanji hates our freedoms and loves to use her power on the federal court, where she serves right now as a judge, to attack these freedoms. When it comes to gun rights, she has limited decisions, but she will never, and refuses to affirm the Second Amendment grants us a personal, individual right to keep and bear arms, which is very simple code for you have no rights to carry guns, to own guns. It's a government right. It's a collective right. It does not guarantee your individual God-given right to keep and bear arms. That's why Ketanji has already been endorsed by every national gun control organization you can think of: Moms Demand Action, Everytown for Gun Safety, the Brady Campaign, Giffords, all of them. All of them have endorsed Ketanji Brown Jackson's nomination because they know if they get her on the court, she will use her power to attack our gun rights for decades to come. Now, some people have asked us, well, aren't we really kind of just, doing a net even swap? I mean, Breyer was no friend to gun owners. So is it worth a major political fight swapping one left-leaning justice for the next? Well, it actually is a very different deal. Stephen Breyer, at best right now, is an old, tired tyrant who doesn't have a lot left to do when it comes to trying to aggressively attack our freedoms. And replacing Breyer with Ketanji would be putting a rabid, young, aggressive, unapologetic activist on the bench who is there for one reason: to use that power to attack our gun rights and all the rest of our freedoms at the exact same time. And so, guys, it is critical that you fire off the email we've prepared for you to Senators Blunt and Hawley right away, telling them to vote no on Ketanji Brown Jackson's nomination. Now, again, Josh Hawley is on the committee, and so he has an awful lot to say in this process. He has a lot of power in this process. He is respected amongst his colleagues in this committee. And if he comes out and opposes her nomination, that will do a lot to galvanize the rest of the committee. Now, in case you don't know, this committee is an 11-11 committee. There is an exact equal number of Democrats and Republicans. And so for Chuck Schumer to see this nomination through the committee, Republicans have to agree to this. Republicans have to cave in under the pressure and agree with this. They can oppose her. If they all do, Schumer would have to move that nomination onto the floor through procedural motions like they did with David Chipman. But if they bypass the committee process, it all but guarantees every Republican in the entire Senate would be a no vote because of that procedural violation. So it is critical that Josh Hawley in that committee stand up and loudly condemn this woman's nomination. She is clearly a left-leaning activist who wants to attack our gun rights on the court. And of course, when it comes to Roy Blunt, everyone knows what a weak, pathetic Republican Roy is. He's on his way out. Everyone knows that. He's been nothing but trouble for gun owners for most of his entire career. Just the last 10 days, he was a yes vote on Biden's $1.9 trillion budget appropriation bill, which, as you remember, contained all of the harmful parts of the Violence Against Women Act. Two major gun control pieces were put into that budget bill out of VAWA, and Blunt was right there as one of only a handful of Senate Republicans to stab us in the back and vote for that legislation. So we've got various reasons why you have to take action and do it right away. But again, if the entire GOP conference locks up and opposes Ketanji for the Supreme Court, we may still stall this nomination. Don't forget, we have a general election in November this year, and we're almost guaranteed, nothing's for sure in politics, strong chance that we're going to see one or both chambers of Congress flip. Biden has destroyed confidence in his party. Inflation is sky high. Violent crime is sky high. And we may see the Senate flip and change hands later on this fall. Folks, if we do that, everything changes in Washington, D.C., including Biden's ability to get these radical, starry-eyed, radical leftist activists onto the court. So now is no time to make concessions with Joe Biden. Now is no time to be a soft, pathetic Roy Blunt and can give the president whatever he wants. That's the problem that Blunt has. He has this idea that the president should be able to nominate his own team. The president should be able to put the people he wants around him to help him run the country. The problem, Roy, pay attention, Earth to Roy, is that Ketanji Brown is not just some executive staffer. She would be on the United States Supreme Court. She'd be deciding the limits of our freedoms and how far Biden's tyranny can go for decades and decades and decades to come. And we do not, as gun owners, believe that he has the right to choose his own team if his team members are committed to destroying our constitutional freedoms, especially our right to keep and bear arms. So, folks, it is critical to take action right away. Hit the link below and email both Senators Hawley and Blunt and tell them we want you no matter what, we want you to vote no on Ketanji Brown Jackson's nomination to the Supreme Court. There is a lot of cases coming up before the court in the very near future when it comes to our gun rights. There's a huge case coming from New York State that will decide the limits of abusive May issue concealed carry permit processes. We're going to probably in the near future see lawsuits challenging Biden's ability to use executive orders to simply ban what is estimated to be 40 million pistol braces across the country. This executive order never went through Congress, never received a committee hearing, never received a vote, but Biden is hoping to use that executive order to make criminals out of millions, tens of millions of gun owners later on this year. The court's going to have to answer that. The same thing applies to the bump stock ban, and we're going to almost assuredly see action on the 80% lower ban. All of these are being done by executive order. All of these are being done by the ATF. These are not laws. They did not go through Congress. They are regulations being forced down our throats by unelected bureaucrats at the behest of our tyrant-in-chief, Joe Biden. The court's going to have to decide on these. And so it is critical that we do all we can to have the best chance possible to save our Second Amendment freedoms by opposing radical leftist nut jobs like Ketanji on the Supreme Court. So, guys, take action right away. Send your email. Make your voices heard. Share this video. Show gun owners who are not involved with MOFC what's going on and get them to take a moment and fire off their email as well. Lastly, guys, if you haven't yet done so, go to joinmofc.com. Go to joinmofc.com and get involved in this fight today as a member of the Missouri Firearms Coalition. Guys, much more to come. It's going to be a busy week next week in Washington, D.C. Take action. Watch your email box for more alerts. We'll keep you informed. Take care.